The story begins on a stormy, rain-soaked night, bringing us to the Black Snake sect. A lone man steadily climbs toward the entrance when a bolt of lightning flashes, briefly revealing countless enemies blocking his path. Fear radiates from them as they scream that the nameless hero has arrived and must be killed. Without hesitation, they rush toward him. As the nearest attackers leap forward, blades rain down toward him. He instantly grips his sword and swings it wide. With a single slash, half the men in front collapse to the ground. He scans his surroundings, silently questioning their next move. Understanding that a direct assault is futile, the remaining enemies slowly spread out, attempting to encircle him. That decision proves meaningless. He bursts forward, and everyone within his reach is slaughtered in a heartbeat. Spotting the weakest gap in their formation, he tightens his grip on his blade and dashes through, carving a bloody path ahead. While advancing, one man exploits the fact that the hero's back is turned. He rapidly closes in, lifting his spear high and laughing, convinced he has won. As he thrusts toward the back of the hero's skull, a brilliant blue light suddenly manifests, warping reality itself. In the next instant, the man's head is split in two, his thoughts scattering into the air. He dies wondering how he was struck despite attacking from behind. The nameless hero spares him only a glance before continuing onward through the night. Eventually, everything grows unnervingly silent. Corpses blanket the ground, forming a sea of bodies around the lone figure. Inside the sect, an elderly man waits. Judging by his black snake attire, he is clearly the leader. He stands calmly until lightning flashes again and the nameless hero appears before him. Accepting his fate, the elder states that the man before him must be the one known as the nameless hero. He questions why he hides his identity. The masked man replies that it's because he isn't a hero at all. The elder asks why, if that's the case, he has been slaughtering members of the Black Snake sect. The nameless hero responds that this is simply who he is, a smile visible beneath his mask. Realization dawns on the elder, who bursts into laughter, claiming everyone was deceived. The man corrects him, saying no one was fooled, they merely believed what they wanted to believe. Calling him fascinating, the elder says he feels he could cross the river of the dead today without regret. Hero or not, he declares he will kill him regardless. Both warriors release their aura, silently waiting for the first move. When a single raindrop strikes the ground between them, they take it as the signal and charge. The clash of their swords echoes repeatedly, sounding like gunfire. Moments later, the nameless hero exits the sect, his blade dripping with blood. Descending the steps, he retrieves his scabbard. As lightning flashes once more, he sheathes his sword, smiling faintly. It's unclear whether this scene occurs before or after, but the story shifts to the Manhwa sect. A plum blossom falls into a pool of blood as figures climb the stairs past the corpses of Manhwa disciples. An entire army advances upward. A monk offers prayers, lamenting how the Manhwa he once knew met such a tragic end. Two elders suspect this atrocity was committed by a demon and question who could be responsible. One elder urges them to wait, sensing someone's approach. A battered man staggers out from the entrance, barely able to walk, declaring that Manhwa has been completely destroyed. Shocked to find a survivor, they listen as bloody tears fall from his eyes. He reveals that a single individual was responsible. Suddenly, a cross-shaped slash erupts. The elders raise their guard as chunks of nearby corpses are flung aside. When the dust settles, the plum blossom swordmaster is seen collapsing into pieces. An elder shouts for the attacker to reveal himself. A man steps forward holding a severed head, calmly naming every sect present, Shaolin, Wudang, Qingcheng, and Namgung, remarking that they certainly gathered an impressive crowd. It is the same nameless hero. They demand he silence himself, asking who he is and why he committed such a massacre. He answers simply that he came after hearing they were the strongest. Tossing the sect leader's head onto the ground, he remarks that such strength was nothing but empty rumor. Horrified, the elders hear him continue, pointing his blade at them and suggesting that since they gathered together, they must be stronger than Manhwa. Enraged, the Wudang elder vows to kill him and appease Manhwa's spirits. The others echo his fury. As they charge, the man laughs, saying this is exactly what he expected. This place is incredibly fun. At that moment, everything fades. It's revealed that the entire scene was part of a virtual reality game. The man removes his headset and exhales, admitting that a coordinated assault from so many players is still overwhelming. He looks at the game's title, Murim Online. Recently developed, the VR game has sparked massive controversy due to its extreme violence, graphic bloodshed, and realistic dismemberment, drawing countless protest emails demanding its shutdown. Despite this, there is no other game like it for him. He decides to take a quieter approach next time. Glancing at the news, he notices a report stating that a major company's CEO has gone missing. He casually remarks that assassinating leaders might be a good option as well. Inside a room, a man desperately begs for mercy. The protagonist turns around, surprised, admitting he had forgotten about him. He lifts a hammer and approaches. The terrified man pleads for his life. It's revealed he is the very CEO from the news. The man rests the hammer on his shoulder and crouches down, grabbing the CEO's cheeks and asking why he should spare him. The CEO insists he did nothing wrong. In response, photos scatter across the floor, exposing him as a serial rapist and murderer. The man explains that if the CEO were truly innocent, he would never have become prey. The CEO sobs, claiming remorse and begging again. Grabbing his hair, the man coldly says he's sick of hearing the phrase, "spare me." As he swings the hammer down, the CEO seizes his chance, screaming as he lunges forward and strikes him in the stomach, sending him sliding across the room. Breaking free from the zip ties through brute force, the CEO grabs the hammer and threatens to kill him. The man simply smiles. As the CEO lunges toward him with the hammer, the man calmly sidesteps the swing. Instantly, the CEO realizes his fatal mistake. The man twists his body and drives his fist violently into the CEO's side. Blood sprays from the CEO's mouth before a brutal kick slams into him, followed by another strike that smashes directly into his face. The CEO crashes backward onto the floor, scrambling away on his hands and knees while crying that he doesn't want to die. The man coldly explains that most humans are herbivores. Among them exist a rare few carnivores, predators who hunt and devour those weaker than themselves. As the CEO backs into a wall, a freezing draft brushes his skin. He turns his head and sees a freezer packed with corpses. The man continues, stating that he is the hunter who stalks those carnivores. The CEO screams at him to stay away, calling him insane. Suddenly, the door is kicked open. Police officers flood the room, shouting orders for him not to move. A detective steps forward and announces that the man's name is Dong Bong-su, stating that he is under arrest for kidnapping, unlawful confinement, and murder. Bong-su looks genuinely confused and asks how the police even managed to locate this place. The detective fires a warning shot, shouting that he told him not to move and that the bullets are real. Bong-su glances at the bullet hole in the wall, then at the armed officers and laughs. He asks if they have any idea who the man behind them really is. He explains that the CEO murdered 6 women, tortured them, photographed their suffering, and relished every moment. Every corpse in the freezer belonged to murderers just like him. These were beasts who preyed on the innocent, and Bong-su was the hunter who eliminated them. The one who deserved to be shot wasn't him, but that monster. The detective ignores his words, seeing only a deranged killer who abducts and murders people. Bong-su stares at him and remarks that communication with the police is impossible. He tightens his grip on the sledgehammer. The detective screams for him to freeze, aiming his gun. Bong-su swings anyway. The gun fires, and as the bullet tears through Bong-su's skull and embeds itself into the wall, he thinks that if there is a next life, he hopes it's a place filled with beasts he can kill freely, somewhere just like Murim. His consciousness fades. Then he jolts awake, gasping for air, asking what the hell is happening. A man's voice says he was certain Bong-su was dead and that his survival is astonishing. The man grabs him by the collar, irritated, shouting about how much effort it took to drag him from the marketplace and threatening to kill him properly next time. He throws Bong-su across the room and tells him they'll deal with him tomorrow. Realizing he must escape, Bong-su grabs a nearby rock and tries to stand, but intense muscle pain overwhelms him and he collapses again. Staring at his hands, he senses something is wrong. Cold sweat pours down his body as he removes his robe and realizes this body isn't his own. His skin is covered in scars he doesn't recognize. Looking out the window, he notices unfamiliar architecture and immediately understands he's inside the Murim. He freezes, then grabs his face, bending over as tears stream down while he struggles to suppress a grin. His long-held wish has finally come true. A system voice welcomes him, announcing that this world is meant for the truly strong. It is none other than Murim Online. Bong-su erupts into manic laughter. Memories belonging to the original body begin flooding his mind. We see him cleaning a stable stall, quietly minding his own business when the door is violently kicked open. A man yells at him. The body's name is revealed to be So-sam. So-sam greets the man as Lord Mackle, who tells him he has a new task and demands he follow immediately. So-sam timidly asks if he means right now, explaining he hasn't finished cleaning. Mackle grabs him by the mouth, snarling that he isn't asking for favors. The Danri clan feeds and shelters a stuttering orphan like him, so he should remember his place. So-sam's eyes appear lifeless. Out in town, Bong-su recognizes the man who dragged him earlier, now walking alongside So-sam. His name is Dongo. Dongo comments that he understands how things are and mentions that Brother Mackle is drinking at the inn again today. The blacksmith remarks that it'll be difficult to move the weapons with just two people. Dongo laughs, pretending not to notice Sam, before punching him in the stomach and declaring that they have a perfectly good beast of burden right there. As Sam collapses, Dongo berates him, ordering him to get up and haul the weapons. Clapping his hands, Dongo suddenly remembers he also has business at the inn and leaves early, dumping even more work on Sam. The blacksmith looks troubled but stays silent as Sam drags the weapons away. The sack begins to tear before bursting completely, sending him crashing to the ground. He painfully gathers everything and drags it to the pavilion, then returns for another load. The blacksmith praises his effort but urges him to rest, saying he looks like he's about to die. Sam insists he's fine and keeps going. He questions whether he truly wants to continue living such a miserable, bug-like existence. Bumping into someone's shoulder, he apologizes, only to be struck hard across the face. Lying there, he wonders where everything went wrong. Was it when his family died in the storm, leaving him the sole survivor? Or when he collapsed at the Danry clan's gate just to stay alive? Curled on the ground, he repeatedly whispers that it's cold, begging for someone to save him. He starts to say something else, but the memory cuts off. Bong-su opens his eyes after absorbing all these memories. Struggling upright, he limps to the stable and looks up at it, realizing it's the same one from the memories. That means the real Sam was beaten to death and Bong-su has taken over his body. Then he notices something else. A status window appears. He recognizes it immediately. It's the one from Murim Online. Back in town, we see Mackle carrying a bowl of food, complaining that he must be the only one in the entire clan forced to shovel horse manure. He mutters that if Sam had finished his work, he should have gone straight home. Instead, he had to collide with someone like Du Ryung of all people, a complete lunatic. Mackle even sent Dongo along just in case. He curses his own luck, wondering why he has to clean up after a half-wit. He briefly considers killing Sam himself to erase the problem, but quickly dismisses the thought. The risk is too great. If he were caught, his own head would be the one rolling. Kicking the stable door open, he insults him, demanding to know why he survived just to make his life miserable. He flings the bowl of food inside, where it rolls across the floor. Bong-su looks up and smiles, calmly stating that it has been 2 weeks since he woke up in this place. From what he has learned through Mackle and observing the outside world, he explains the situation. First, people here use hand characters, yet this is not China. The reason is simple: martial techniques that once existed only in novels and movies are real here. People can leap through the air and move faster than the eye can follow. Watching the Danry clan members train, he confirms that martial arts in this world are genuine. Second, he possesses a system window. More precisely, for some reason the Murim Online status interface still functions and only he can see it. At first he assumed this was still a game, but now he knows for certain this is reality. Everyone here has emotions. They live, breathe, and move. He questions whether he is still human or merely a player. After closing the window, he hears Dongo's voice complaining loudly, mocking how Bong-su lives comfortably while someone else got beaten and punished because of him. Dongo glares at him until Bong-su finally stands. Bong-su picks up the bowl and begins drinking from it. Dongo laughs and raises his hand, threatening to beat him to death. Instead, Bong-su looks down, snaps the bowl apart and grips a sharp shard. In one swift motion, he slashes Dongo's throat. As blood gushes out, Dongo clutches his neck. Bong-su tells him that the boy they used to know is already dead. Dongo chokes on his own blood as Bong-su stabs the shard straight into his shoulder, triggering a scream of agony. Pulling it out, Bong-su raises the fragment again and drives it back into Dongo's throat. He continues stabbing relentlessly, over and over, until his entire body is drenched in blood. The stable becomes so saturated that it seems to rain blood itself. Bong-su remarks that the blood is warm. Regardless of anything else, he now knows with certainty that this world is real. He can feel the great law of this place flowing from both Dongo and Mackle, the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest. In this world, he no longer needs to hide his true nature. He can hunt freely because carnivores, stronger, more monstrous predators, roam openly in the jungle known as Murim. Looking at his wrist, swollen from being grabbed earlier, he states that once his body fully recovers, the hunt will begin again. A smile spreads across his face. He eagerly anticipates encountering stronger prey and finally meeting true predators in this new world called Murim. Some time later, Bong-su sits motionless, staring at Dongo's corpse. Normally, someone like him wouldn't even be worth hunting, but there's something Bong-su needs to confirm. While examining the body, he opens his inventory and immediately notices something unusual. In Murim Online, the inventory was a grid system where each item occupied a single slot. But this inventory is completely different. It's one enormous open space. The interior is so vast that he estimates it spans hundreds of square meters. Keeping the inventory open, he places his hand over Dongo's head and says, "Store inventory." Reality itself appears to warp as Dongo's corpse, along with every drop of blood nearby, is instantly sucked inside. The entire stable is cleaned in a single moment, erasing all evidence of the murder. Bong-su is stunned. For something that massive to disappear instantly, its usefulness is beyond imagination. He realizes he can make incredible use of this ability. He then wonders whether living beings can also be stored inside, and if they would remain alive. He decides he'll need to experiment later to find out. Sometime later, Bong-su steps outside and begins sweeping in front of the stables. While working, he listens carefully to the surrounding chatter, trying to gather more information about this world. Mackle notices him from behind and abruptly walks up, striking the back of his head hard and cursing him, saying he heard Bong-su had gone mute. Bong-su pretends nothing is wrong and deliberately mumbles in response. Mackle warns him not to slack off and points toward a horse, ordering him to take it out for a walk. Once again, Bong-su mutters incoherently. Mackle suppresses his irritation, muttering that dealing with a brat who can't even speak properly is unbearable. Bong-su leads the horse through town, quietly observing his surroundings and familiarizing himself with the area. In a narrow alley, several children spot him. One of them hurls a stone directly at his head. The rock strikes him, drawing blood. The kids burst into laughter, mocking him repeatedly for being unable to speak, calling him mute again and again. Bong-su locks his gaze onto one of the children, briefly considering killing him on the spot. The child becomes terrified, rubbing his eyes and wondering if he imagined the look in Bong-su's eyes. Bong-su resumes acting mute and walks away. Another rock is thrown at him as they continue insulting and laughing at him from behind. Later on, Mackle shows up again, grumbling that someone like Bong-su shouldn't be stuck cleaning weapons. He blames Dongo for disappearing for days and wonders if the man dropped dead somewhere. Bong-su exits the weapon storage room, and Mackle demands to know what he was doing inside. He freezes when he sees the room is spotless. When he asks if Bong-su really did all of this work alone, Bong-su nods obediently. Mackle remarks that Bong-su nearly died a few weeks ago, yet now he's completely different, quick, efficient, and doing tasks without being ordered. He says Bong-su has finally become a proper human being. Bong-su pulls out a sack of coins and hands it over. Mackle is shocked, then bursts into laughter, saying Bong-su has finally learned how the world truly works. He tells him to keep it up and walks away. Bong-su drops his submissive act, his plan now set in motion. Out on the street, Mackle tosses the bag of coins into the air, laughing as he calls Sam an idiot for not realizing he's paying for his own funeral. With his pockets full, he decides to enjoy himself, planning to visit a more expensive escort this time. At the establishment, a man greets him. Mackle tells him to bring out Kasun. The man replies that he'll fetch Ying Ying, then pauses, surprised, and asks if Mackle really meant Kasun. Mackle confirms it and tells him to check the money himself. Seeing the coins, the man instructs him to wait in the last room on the second floor, promising to send her in shortly. While Mackle waits inside, there's a knock. Kasun announces her entrance and steps inside. Mackle comments that she's on a completely different level compared to Ying Ying. He invites her to sit and she pours him a drink. He praises her beauty, gradually pulling her closer. From a hidden position, Bong-su observes everything, patiently waiting for the right moment to strike. We are shown events from a short time earlier. The man watches Mackle enter the inn, clicking his tongue as he notes that Mackle chose a girl young enough to be his own daughter. It disgusts him, but when he looks down at the money in his hands, he shrugs, saying that inside the inn, money is all that matters. That's when Bong-su appears. The man recognizes him and asks what Sam is doing in a place like this. He approaches, reminding Bong-su that although he's mute, he should at least understand where he is right now, before threatening to forcibly throw him out. Bong-su calmly hands him a large pouch of money. The man hesitates, wondering if it's real, but once he opens it and sees the coins, his eyes widen in shock. He quickly tells Bong-su to wait in the second room from the end on the second floor and promises to bring Ying Ying to him immediately. Bong-su heads inside, fully prepared to settle matters. Later, after Mackle finishes his business, Bong-su quietly slips into Mackle's room. Mackle boasts arrogantly, bragging that he's still got plenty of stamina. Without warning, Bong-su loosens the bandages around his arm and wraps them tightly around Mackle's throat, pulling hard. Mackle begins coughing violently, choking as he struggles to tear the bandages away. Panic sets in when he realizes they won't come loose. He looks up, desperate to see who is attacking him, and slams his head backward in a last-ditch attempt to escape. Even as Bong-su stumbles, the bandages remain locked around Mackle's neck. Bong-su falls with him, dragging Mackle down to the floor. Keeping his eyes calm and focused, he tightens his grip further. Mackle thrashes wildly, flailing his arms and kicking his legs, but his movements grow weaker and weaker. A slow smile spreads across Bong-su's face as he savors the moment, finding immense pleasure in watching the light fade from Mackle's eyes. Eventually, Mackle's body goes limp. Bong-su releases him, completely satisfied with the result. Lying on the floor, Bong-su notices Ka-sun resting on the bed. He stands and slowly approaches her, stopping to study her quietly. He can tell immediately that she's an herbivore, someone without the strength or will to protect herself. Turning away, he walks over to the peephole in the wall and peers through it. He opens his inventory, though the scene beyond must be censored due to what's happening inside. He remarks that it's fortunate he practiced using his inventory beforehand, as it will be extremely useful for future hunts. He glances at his status window and notes that everything turned out exactly as expected. He has gained experience points and is steadily approaching a level up. Killing people in this world grants experience, and accumulating enough allows him to grow stronger. His eyes gleam as he realizes the implications. Becoming stronger makes hunting easier, and easier hunting allows him to gain experience faster. That means in this world, he can become endlessly powerful. He then remembers that he's still sitting on Mackle's corpse and comments that it's a shame he doesn't have a camera. Outside the room, the man waits impatiently. Ying rushes over, asking if they're inside. The man scolds her for taking too long and tells her to hurry and go in. He mutters that even if the customer is mute, he's still paying. Ying apologizes and says she's late. Growing irritated, the man wonders why Mackle still hasn't finished, joking that maybe he's trying to have a child. He clears his throat and bangs on the door, shouting that too much time has passed and ordering Ka-sun to come out as well. There's no response. Angered, he yells louder, but his voice is abruptly drowned out by Ka-sun's terrified scream. He throws the door open and asks what happened. Ka-sun looks up in horror. When the man follows her gaze, his heart sinks and he collapses to the floor. Mackle's corpse is hanging from one of the beams in the room. We are then given more context about the region. This land is centered around the Yangtze River, a massive basin that has served as a core of commerce and trade since ancient times. Wherever wealth gathers, thieves and criminals inevitably follow. As bandits and wicked sects flourished, numerous clans rose to defend justice within the Murim and drove them out. Among the most powerful were the Namgung clan, one of the 5 great families and the unquestioned rulers of Anhui, along with the Danri clan. Although the Danri clan cannot rival Namgung in overall power, it possesses a specialized combat force known as the Heaven's Sword Division. Alongside this is their intelligence and law enforcement unit, the Black Crow Squad, whose reputation spread widely across Anhui. The Black Crow Squad's information-gathering abilities are especially terrifying. Even the Beggar sect, which would be offended at being called second best in intelligence, must admit that within Anhui, the Danri clan's Black Crow Squad surpasses them. Recently, however, the Black Crow Squad has been struggling with a peculiar case. A man bows before another who is reading a scroll. We are introduced to the squad leader, Ged Hyo. He is informed of yet another suicide. Over the past few months, nearly 100 people have taken their own lives. Suicides have always existed, but normally only 1 or 2 occurred each month, never at this scale. Something is clearly wrong. What's most unsettling is how flawless each case appears. Every piece of evidence and every circumstance points undeniably to suicide, yet Hyo can't shake the feeling that something doesn't add up. He is told that the latest case took place at a local inn. Hyo decides to head there himself, despite being told there's no need for the squad leader to go personally. He insists on seeing it with his own eyes. Arriving at the inn, he asks the owner if this is the room in question. The owner confirms it and explains that he and Ka-sun found the man hanging from the rafters in that very room. Hyo states that if this so-called suicide epidemic is actually a series of murders, then the key question is how the killer entered the room. He inspects the entire space and realizes it's structurally sound. There's no way for someone to enter without being noticed. That leaves only one possible explanation. He approaches the wall bordering the neighboring room and examines a narrow crack, explaining that if the logs were removed, it would allow passage between rooms. However, he immediately notices that the logs were never taken out. When he asks the owner whether it's possible to remove them without dismantling the roof, the owner replies that it's impossible. The logs are fixed into grooves within the ceiling and floor beams, and they cannot be pulled out without removing the beams themselves. Dihyo grows uneasy, beginning to wonder if it truly was a suicide. He asks whether anyone occupied the room next door at the time of Mackle's death. The owner responds that another guest was staying there and arrived around the same time as Mackle. When Dihyo asks for the guest's identity, the answer he receives is So Sam of the Danri clan. We then see Bong-su walking through the streets while leading a horse. He checks his experience points and notes that the man he killed recently granted more experience than those he killed before. This means that man must have been a martial artist. Killing someone stronger than himself yields far greater experience. However, if he were to fight a true martial artist head-on, he would certainly lose. Even the weakest warrior of the Danri clan is currently far beyond him. What he needs is prey that exists between ordinary civilians and trained martial artists, exactly like the man he killed earlier. In a narrow alley, several men shout out to him, remarking that they haven't seen him in a while and demanding that he greet his elders properly. They mockingly ask whether he's giving them the silent treatment. One of them steps forward, sneering that there's no way their little So Sam would dare ignore them. Bong-su considers whether they are street thugs, but then realizes that no matter how pathetic So Sam once was, he was still a member of the Danri clan. Did he really live his entire life being bullied by trash like this? One man yanks his hair, accusing him of ignoring them on purpose and declaring that it's time for a little talk. They drag both Bong-su and his horse into the alley. Bong-su thinks that he could kill all of them here and stage it as suicides. If he stored their bodies in his inventory and dumped them elsewhere, it might work, but causing a disturbance here would be dangerous. The experience gained wouldn't be worth the risk either. For now, he decides to endure the beating and deal with them later. One man pulls his fist back, commenting that Bong-su looks less scrawny than before and must be eating well. Another interrupts him, saying he told him to bring Bong-su over nicely. This man seems visibly nervous. His name is Jang Ho. Bong-su wonders who he is. Jang Ho compliments the horse, saying their black society leader is obsessed with horses and that it would make a fine gift. Smiling confidently, he asks Bong-su what he thinks, fully aware that Bong-su can't refuse. At that moment, Bong-su realizes the truth. With such blatant killing intent, their goal was never negotiation. They planned to kill him and take the horse from the beginning. Unfortunately for them, they chose the wrong prey. Jang Ho says Bong-su looks deep in thought but warns that he won't ask again. Bong-su responds coldly, telling him to just kill him already. There's no point in repeating the question. The fat man from earlier stares in shock, realizing that Bong-su can speak. Without giving them time to react, Bong-su suddenly throws a sharp jab straight toward Jang Ho's throat. At the same time, he opens his inventory. A dagger materializes in midair and shoots out instantly. The blade strikes Jang Ho directly in the jaw, sending him staggering backward. Bong-su grabs the side of Jang Ho's head. In that instant, an intense, blinding light erupts from Bong-su's body. A massive explosion follows, blasting debris throughout the entire alley. The men scream in terror, shouting that this must be sorcery. When the dust settles, Bong-su's status updates. He has reached level 2. The fat man from earlier looks up in absolute horror as Bong-su slowly advances toward them. An overwhelming killing intent pours out from him, so dense that all they can perceive is a demon walking straight at them. They panic, screaming that they must kill him immediately or they'll all die. This video ends here. Thanks for watching, gang. Do comment Psychopath to let me down that you had watched full video.